Sound Therapy Network. Hello, how's it going? How is your May going so far? I want to hop on and talk about a couple of things. Before I dive into the topic of this video, I want to say if you've sent me an assessment, I am receiving them. I haven't had a chance to review them yet, but I do have them. So thank you for sending them over, and I will review and provide feedback as soon as possible. So in this video, I want to talk about being professional, which you would think that that's a given if you're building a practice, right? But it's not always. And then I also want to talk about corporate wellness. So when I say be professional, I think that sometimes people are not comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. So if you need to reschedule, if you need to ask for payment, if you need to cancel an appointment, sometimes people are not comfortable with those types of conversations, but we can't avoid them. So I believe how we do one thing is how we do everything. And if you are someone who sweeps things under the rug, you like to avoid confrontation, you like to avoid uncomfortable conversations, that will reflect in your business. And that will shape how you brand yourself. And sometimes people's brand isn't always respected or valued because of how they carry themselves in their practice. So, two things that made me want to bring this up and address it is I did a corporate gig, and the woman was kind of funny. Like, we communicated back and forth, they paid me up front. And the day of the event, well, actually, even before the event, she's like, tomorrow, we'll see you at this time, right? Like, I felt like she checked in more than normal. And then the day of the event, she's like, we're here, we're set up, we're here, let me know if you have any trouble. And I'm like, does she think I'm not gonna come? Does she think I'm not going to show up? And so when I showed up, I heard her say to another woman, like, I'm glad she showed up. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, I've never not shown up for something that I was paid or committed to. So I thought it was a little weird, but I'm like, she's hiring a sound therapy practitioner for the first time. Maybe she doesn't know, in today's day and age, you pay for things and it's actually a scam. So I can understand why she was that way. But literally the next week, I was told by a client that she hired a sound therapy practitioner to do a beach session for her in St. Pete. So I live in Tampa. St. Pete's not far from me. And they communicated with the practitioner, and then the practitioner didn't show up. And I was like, and I'm pretty sure I know who the woman is because of course I asked, but the practitioner didn't show up. So she said they communicated, they confirmed the time, they confirmed the location. When they got there, they asked around, like, is there usually someone who does sound baths here at this location? And the guy was like, yeah, she's normally here, but she wasn't there for whatever reason. No communication, nothing. And even after, so when I actually saw them, it was days after they were supposed to do the beach session, and she still hadn't heard from her at all, like nothing. And I'm just like, wow. So it makes sense why some people may be apprehensive and not know if a sound therapy practitioner is going to show up. And so what I want to say is, when behavior like this happens in our space, it doesn't just hurt that person's brand, it impacts what people think of sound therapy practitioners. And so it hurts all of us, and it's extremely unprofessional. There's absolutely no excuse why there shouldn't have been some form of communication. You cannot run a business like that. You cannot run a business like that. So even if there was an emergency that didn't allow her to show up that day, still following up and being like, I'm so sorry, this thing happened. But I mean, unless the person is like no longer alive or not conscious, there's really no excuse as to why you would just leave someone hanging like that. So when we're building our practice, we cannot let things like that happen. I think that there's a certain level of like, I understand life is challenging, but if you're building a practice, you have to communicate with your clients, even if you have to reschedule or cancel. I've had things happen where I couldn't show up at the time or I needed to reschedule last minute, but you want to communicate with those clients immediately. So things happen, but the fact that it was like days and there was no like communication after the fact, it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. But these are clients that have been coming to me for, a couple years. So I find it hard to believe that there wasn't a way for her to get in contact with these clients. And I personally don't like doing beach sessions because you may think like, well, why did they go hire someone else? I personally don't like doing beach sessions because I don't like sand all over my equipment and then have to take it back to the studio. So not my thing personally. So I would rather them, go to someone else for a beach session, but someone that would actually show up. Like, it really is not okay. And so I don't know what happened, but I do know that when people don't present themselves professionally, it makes people not want to take sound therapy practitioners seriously. And I don't think anyone in this group would necessarily do that. But the thing that I wanted to stress is when you have situations where things come up, because things will come up, life happens, make sure that you are communicating with the client, because those are great clients to have. They've been clients of mine for 2 years. So like that could have been a consistent repeat client of theirs if she showed up. So you never know the business that you could be missing out on because of a little mishap, right? And there's always ways to handle situations. Anytime I had to cancel something last minute or I wasn't able to be there at the specific time, whether I had car trouble, whatever it was, I always offered something as an apology. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I'd love to offer you X, Y, and Z for, rescheduling or whatever the case may be. There's always a way to handle it professionally. And so with this, if you need verbiage on how to navigate situations, this is a really great place where we can have that conversation. Because I know I went through Brene Brown's Dare to Lead training, and it teaches you how to verbalize things like that and be very clear in communication. And it's a learned skill. It's not something that usually we know how to do. And that's why people just rather not say anything at all, because you're like, I don't know what to say, so I'm just not going to say anything at all. But it's really not okay in business. We have to have the language around it to be able to speak to the customer professionally and find ways to make it right so we don't lose them as a customer. And not saying that all customers are right, because there are customers that we may need to fire here or there. It happens. We don't want every single customer, because you do have some challenging customers. But what I'm referring to in this case is if something happened with us that was unavoidable and we need to make the situation right, it's important to have language around that. So if you ever are like, I don't know how to handle this, definitely reach out to me, because it's important that we are professional. Okay, that was one of the biggest things I wanted to mention. And the next thing I want to talk about is corporate wellness. So I have been advertising my corporate wellness services because, like I said, the economy is challenging right now. So a lot of individuals may start to cut back on self-care. But on the flip side of that is corporate wellness is going to continue to boom, because they lost so much money due to mental health days and sick days last year. They're bumping up their corporate wellness offerings. So this is a really powerful time to get into corporate wellness. And I've done some corporate gigs lately that were phenomenal. Like even today, the day of me recording this, I had a corporate gig and it was awesome. So going to a nice hotel, usually they let you have lunch because they provide lunch, and yeah, you just get to do your thing and you get paid well, like really well. So if you have any questions around negotiating a rate, I will say I did have one company recently that was not okay with my rate, like what I wanted to charge. And there's opportunity to lessen your rate to do the gig, right? But that's a case by case scenario. If you feel like, well, this is a good enough opportunity, the photo app, because taking photos, getting video, it will help you land more gigs. But I think that for me personally, I'm at a place in my practice where I don't need more photos. I don't need more video. I want to be compensated for my time because I have a brick and mortar business where if I'm being taken away from my studio, it has to be worth it for me, right? So there's different points in our practice where when you're starting out, you may take whatever you can get, but there will be a point where you're like, I value my time more than this opportunity, because time is time is the thing that we cannot get back. There will always be more opportunities. So really having that check-in process, because if we do jobs that we're not compensated for and the payout doesn't return, it's kind of like, it's the fastest way to resentment and burnout. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's the fastest way to resentment and burnout. And one thing that I know is that business boundaries is so important. Making sure you are crystal clear on your business boundaries, and you'll refine them over time, right? But having very clear business boundaries, this is an amount that I will not go under if I have to travel to a location. There are certain times where I'm like, Sundays, that's my day. I will not work on a Sunday. But if I have a training, my trainings are on the weekend. So some Sundays I do work. And it's like having the boundaries, but knowing what you're willing to tweak, but being clear on that is going to help you avoid resentment. And resentment's a tricky emotion. And I think because I'm gonna say it's safe to assume that practitioners have been people pleasers. Us wanting to be of service, there's a little bit of a high probability of us being people pleasers, but being a people pleaser will lead to burnout in your business. So noticing when you feel resentful, it's kind of like one of those things where the people who sign up on a coupon or a discount, like let's just say Groupon, the Groupon clients usually are one of the most demanding clients. Like, the people who want the discount usually want the most service. It's almost inevitable. And so understanding that sometimes when you discount your services, it can lead to resentment if that person is challenging. And so being mindful of like how much you're discounting, are you expecting a tip? Maybe instead of discounting it heavily, you include the tip amount in there. And like, okay, let's just say you were going to do a 25% off discount, but then the person was late. It annoys me when someone doesn't pay full price and then they don't show up on time, because it makes me feel like not only are you getting a discount, but you're also not respecting my time. And I'm just being honest. These are things that we feel. We're human, right? These are things that we feel. It's always a person that is receiving a discount that is not on time, and then they're needy. This is how it usually goes. They got a discount. they weren't on time. Then when they got there, they had to go to the bathroom, already late, right? But then they're like, ooh, but can I go to the bathroom real quick? And so those are definitely people who usually don't tip. And then they need all these extra things, right? So instead of discounting, let's just say 20% or 25%, what if you just gave a 10% discount, because then it accommodated for, or like accounted for, a tip, you know? So I know that's probably not the best example, but just being mindful of your limits. Because I think people love a discount, but if you discount too much and then you have all these other things, because at the end of all of that, you're like, oh, that was annoying, right? And these may be things that you, like, if you're just starting out, you're grateful for the client, you're grateful for the income, and it may not be a thing. But I think for where I'm at in my practice, where I'm busy all day, so it's kind of one of those things where I have to be mindful of the things that make me feel like, well, that was annoying, versus the things that like really light me up and like fill my cup and like feed my soul, right? Because as you build your practice, there's going to be things that annoy you, and there's going to be things that really fill your cup. So being mindful of that as you grow, so you can have more of the things that fill your cup and less of the things that annoy you. And if you feel like, oh no, I would never be annoyed at a client, that's an opportunity to really check in, because it's kind of like avoiding a thing. Like, if you like love someone, whether it's your children, whether it's your partner, they annoy you at some point. Like, no one is perfect, right? So being aware of where that's showing up in your business, because it's data. Now, I know for me right now, like, I'm loving the corporate wellness. I had one company that didn't want to pay my rate, and it's a great company. So I'm like, I could do it for cheaper. But at the same time, like, I have companies that are willing to pay my rate and even pay me more. So one of the things that I do is I always ask, do you have a budget for this? Because if I'm going to quote them, let's just say $500, but their budget is $1,500, I could be missing out on that extra $1,000. So I always ask, what is your budget for this? Can you share your budget for this? And then be like, oh yeah, I can do it for that amount. And so that has worked in my favor. But every now and then you will have a company that just doesn't want to pay what you want to be paid. And you can make that decision for yourself. I wanted to make sure I was recording. You can make that decision for yourself if you want to take that job or not. And people will promise you exposure. People will promise you, getting your eyes in front of things. And sometimes it works out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. So really doing a check-in, like, how do I feel about this? Do I think it'll be beneficial? If nothing comes out of it later on, will I be okay with this amount that I was paid? So that's just some feedback. I've been loving corporate wellness, but just like anything, you're going to find some companies that you really love working with, and you're going to find some not so much. So yeah, get out there, keep planting the seeds, find the companies that you really love working with, because usually once they hire you, they will hire you again and again. And then also there is Well Hub. So I just signed up for it. I haven't started using it yet, but Well Hub is a wellness service that allows people in like corporate wellness to provide their employees with like credits, So I do PureFit. I think it's called Fit On now. There's ClassPass, but PureFit specifically allows employers to provide wellness and fitness credits to their employees. So things like that are popping up more and more. It's a great way to get some traffic in your business. So there's so much out there. There's so much out there. But again, we have to be professional. So this modality is taken seriously. We don't want to be a mom and pop shop where they think sound therapy is just this esoteric woo-woo crap where like maybe the person will show up, maybe not, maybe it's going to be some weird hippie. So making sure that we are professional and we are on time, we're representing ourselves and our companies well, we're representing the modality well, is important, because this is needed. It's so needed. And how we show up and represent this modality, it does reflect on this space as a whole. So hopefully everyone in this group is being professional, but obviously it's worth saying, I mean, there are some things that I see online with practitioners doing that lack integrity, that lack professionalism. So I think it is worth it to name it and say it. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, stories, we're here to share. Definitely be active in the Facebook group. We're all in this together. And I always say, like, it's not us against each other. It's us against anxiety. It's us against cancer. It's us against autoimmune diseases. And the corporate gig that I did today was for a specific, like, rare autoimmune disease. They do a summit for people who have this rare autoimmune disease. And so the fact that people are embracing this modality more and more is powerful. We're in powerful times. We just have to make sure we are showing up professionally. So that's my goal here with Sound Therapy Network, is to help with that business support, help with the language. So if you ever have a situation where you're like, I don't know how to handle this, I don't know what to say, definitely reach out to me. That is what I am here for. But get those corporate gigs, sign up for Well Hub if it's in your area. And yeah, let's keep doing what we do to combat anxiety, depression, autoimmune disease, cancers. Like, people are struggling and this modality can help. So making sure that we are on top of our stuff to help people that are struggling, because there's so many people struggling right now. And then even the people that are doing good, helping them with expansion and embodiment and manifestation and connecting to their divine feminine or their divine masculine. Like, this work doesn't just have to be about helping people that are going through a hard time. It could actually be fun and enlightening and expansive. So there's no shortage of what we can do with this work. That is my message. So let me know if anything resonated. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, what is coming up for you right now. Tell me all the things. I am here.